Good morning, everyone. Jerry Tabatt with you here on another edition of our military community. We have got a very special show today. We've got all kinds of things to talk about when it comes to the military that's moving into our area, the people that are here already. What do we do? What don't we do? Who should we turn to? And who can we believe? Well, we're going to get all that sorted out today because I got two very special guests with me this morning. First one is the CEO of CPAR, Central Panhandle Association of Realtors, which is Kaydee Albritton. And then her sidekick today is Athrine Matthews, who is the president-elect and has got a whole list of other things that she's going to talk about in just a second. But Kaydee, set it up for us. What is CPAR?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much, Jerry, for having both Athrine and myself on today. We're really excited to be here. But CPAR stands for the Central Panhandle Association of Realtors. We're a member-based organization serving about 2,400 realtor members over 6 counties. Yes, they just keep coming, as well as about 300 affiliated members. And our organization exists to provide services to our members. So one of the larger services that you may know us most by is our multiple listing service. So all of the listings that go out and are syndicated to multiple sites across the internet, they all originate through our MLS at our association. We also provide additional services that help to make the realtors' lives and businesses easier, better, faster. And then additional things like education, professional standards. They're held to a very high ethical standard. Something that is not always understood across the board is that realtors are different than real estate agents, and you're not considered a realtor until you're a member of an association. And with that, they are held to a really high ethical standard.
And that standard, I've seen it myself. And Athrine, I've got to say, I'm impressed with your resume. I mean, you have all these different things. Like you're a broker owner, you're a realtor, you're the CPAR 2023 president-elect. But one of the big things that's really going to be helpful for us on this interview today is you're a military veteran, so you understand.
Yes, Jerry. Speaking about my credentials, I find being a realtor is very, very rewarding, and to stay professional in that professional realm, you have to keep educating yourself. And as you mentioned about me being a military veteran, that has been one of the most rewarding, I would say, one of the most rewarding certification or award that I have received throughout my lifetime.
Well, and thank you for your service too, and I appreciate that. Now, let's get started by talking about, first of all, what's happening right now. Tyndall is building rapidly. The Navy base is expanding. We have many industries coming in or wanting to come in. And housing is at a premium right now, but we're going to concentrate today on military people. What is it like military housing wise now? Is there units available that they can afford? And when we talk about afford, I want to talk about things like, yes, they'll get a quarters allowance, but they still have to pay the difference on either the mortgage or the rent. They still have to pay utilities. They still have to get to school. So location, location, location.
Yes, you are correct. There are financing available for the veteran buyers, and they do still have to pay the difference with their BAQ or their homeowners property insurance and things like that. One of the things that's available to many of our veterans is a Florida program called the Hometown Heroes. And that is a down payment assistance that goes towards purchasing the home. This is what's called a down payment assistance. Let's just say, for example, they're looking at buying a home for $350,000. So with the down payment assistance, that affords them about $17,500 towards the purchase of that home. Now, the beneficial thing towards being a veteran using the Hometown Heroes financing is you can still get what's called seller concessions. And if your seller concession is in excess of what you need to purchase that home, the rest of that goes towards the mortgage itself. So that can give them a lower mortgage payment and make that a little bit more affordable for the veteran buyer. So that would offset some of these utilities
Right.
and things like that available to them.
You know, and that's one, by the way, do they have to pay this assistance back too?
No.
Okay, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. And like I was saying, you know, in Bay County, I don't know where we're going to put some of our military folks, especially a young airman coming in with a wife only that can't afford that. And Kaydee, you talked about the 6 counties that you're in. Is this not only in Bay County, is this kind of common around Okaloosa, Walton County too, where you've got Eglin out there, and then out on the beach also where the Coast Guard Navy is at?
Yeah, so housing in general is, we've seen a really hard hit this past year in terms of availability and affordability. You know, we had a great peak right after Hurricane Michael in our area. It was a great time in real estate, and then again after COVID, especially with those really low interest rates. But this past year we've seen quite a dip in the availability of homes, and of course the affordability has been a huge issue as well.
Yeah, and there's a couple of, personally, I don't know, and you can probably tell me if there's a advantage or disadvantage to each one, but to me, if you can get a fixed mortgage rate is better than the variable one. That can be 5% today, but if the market goes bad like it did, it could go up to 8%. And you have no choice. You got to pay it.
That is correct, and that's that adjustable mortgage rate, yes. Now, some people find that adjustable mortgage rate attractive depending on how long they plan on being in that home.
Right.
But with a veteran, as you know, as those rates hike up, so does their mortgage payment.
Right.
And the fixed mortgage rate is what you want. That's the rate that you need to be focusing on.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but what I want to do is we have some graphics. The first one I want to throw up is market trends that deals with the number of listings, and it kind of varies. What are we looking at here?
Well, what we're looking at here, going back and forth, the color chart is showing you the blue is what's our active listings that are currently active, and this is from January of 2023 up to September of 2023. Now you have the green one is showing you the newer listings that's come on the market recently, and you have your, I guess, black is your pending listings, and then you have the sold listings, which is the purple one. And as you can see, as the market changes, you've had more listings on the market in January, but as the interest rates changed, we've gotten less and less of them, and then you have your sold versus those active.
Now, and Kaydee, maybe you can answer this. When we talk about the listings that are available, do you know, if you have a military client come in, do you know whether or not if they want to look at a particular home that's listed, whether or not it accepts VA mortgages? Because some places don't accept a VA mortgage, so that's one of the things they have really got to watch for.
Yeah, definitely. And do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, accepting the VA financing, that's going to depend on the home itself, the condition that home is in, and the home seller, depending of if they'll take the VA. But the home itself has to qualify for the VA financing, because the VA don't want you moving into a home that you're going to have to put money in fixing up again. So that.
And that's probably an advantage with all the new units coming in. They're all built to standards and everything. Let's go on to the next graphic here, where we talk about price trends. There's not much variation in that, and that's kind of surprising because this is from January to September also. What is it? What is that telling us? Is that telling us that people are paying the asking price or the listed price, or are just the home sellers and the developers and that, are they not wanting to come down on the price or negotiate it?
People are paying those asking prices. The homes, we're in a slower market now, as you know. However, the prices are still maintaining themselves. They're still, what do you call it? Appreciating and appraising. However, some of the sellers have gotten a little creative. So they're willing to help meet the gap in the middle. So let's just say the veteran buyer needs assistance in paying that closing cost, or getting the home inspection covered by the seller. The sellers are very, very inclined to help them with that, to get that home sold.
And that's what's great about it, because this area right here, we love our military, we really do, and that's why I'm so glad that we get a chance to talk about this today, because there's things that you can help us to understand. First of all, when a military family is looking for a house, it doesn't make any difference if it's a rental, a lease, or a new mortgaged house. What is the realistic price? I know it goes by rank, but what's the realistic price would a veteran look at to say, can I afford the payments on a $400,000 home, or do I have to stop back a little bit to a $250,000 home? Because I've had people tell me that if you get a $400,000 home, after you get the mortgage taken care of, and you get the property and taxes paid, and you get your homeowner's insurance, you can figure about 10% of the selling price is what your mortgage is going to be. Does that still hold true?
It still holds true. However, because, as Kaydee mentioned earlier, because of Hurricane Michael, a lot of these homes have been rebuilt and improved. Certain fixtures have been upgraded. So because that's done, you're starting to get a little bit more discounts on, let's say, your insurance, for instance. That insurance can go down a little lower based on all the improvements that's been done to that home. And yes, there is still an increase after all that. But with the veteran buyer, a lot of those can be, I'm always stuck for words, a lot of those numbers can be lower, because with the veteran buyer, the affordability is a lot lower. As far as the qualification, those are a lot lower versus a conventional buyer. So that's taken into account with the price of the home.
Now, the price trends that you're showing, is that an average of new construction, existing homes, or people that are just wanting to sell and move to a different community? Is this pretty much the same?
It's an average of all. It's a mixture.
Okay. What is our average right now?
Right now we have a lot of new construction, again, simply because of the hurricane, but we have, and then a lot of, updated homes. So those are our average.
Okay, well, that gives us an idea then on the prices, but hypothetical, Kaydee, let's say I come to town, okay? I'm looking for a home. Who do I go to? You said something about a real estate agent different from a realtor?
Correct.
That doesn't make any sense to me right now. Could you explain that, please?
Of
Who do
course.
I go to if I'm in the military, want to buy a home?
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that there is a difference, and that is a common misconception that not everybody understands that there is a difference between an average real estate agent. Now, I will say in our area, it is more common to find a realtor versus a real estate agent that is practicing, mainly because if you want to be successful, in your business, then you're going to buy into an association. You want to be involved in education. You want to be held to a higher ethical standard. You want to get designations and certifications. You want to be the best agent that you can be for your customers and your clients. So largely in our area, most of our agents you come across are Realtor members of the association. But to your point of where do you go, who do you find, hopefully you go to our website, because that's where all of our Realtor members are listed and all of their contact information. But something that they could be looking for specifically is certain designations that Athrine actually holds that are accredit them to help with specifically veteran buyers or military buyers of all sorts. So she has specific education that helps her better work with those types of buyers.
And let's talk about that education. Katie, that was great, thank you. Let's talk about that right now, Athrine. Is there a difference between a young family, or it doesn't make any difference, an established military family looking to buy a home, than someone with a retired status and like me and a VA disability? Is there a difference in the type of VA loan, or is there certain characteristics that the people with disability get to have evaluated more than someone that's on, say, on active duty or just actively retired?
There is a slight difference. For instance, if you are a veteran with disabilities, when you go to get that VA loan, there is a portion of that called a funding fee. So if you have a disability, that funding fee, if you have a disability of 10%, that funding fee is waived. So you wouldn't have, so your funding fee is based up on the price of the home. So that funding fee could be $4,000, $6,000, but depending on a disability, it's waived. Now, as far as whether you are active or retired or new family with the VA, you're going to be considered, if you're an active duty member looking for a home at that time, you may take precedence to someone that is retired. It depends on the availability of that home. A retired person has more affordability than, let's say,
That's
an active.
a lot of information, and you guys are really helping with this. I appreciate that. I want to throw that next graphic up that talks sale versus list price. And, you know, really, there's not much variation in there, really. I mean, housing, even though there's a lot of units out there, housing is very competitive right now.
Yes. Yes, and as you see on the graph, it's basically, I want to say what, neck and neck. It's a close race.
All right.
I will comment too, Jerry, that during COVID, with all of the historically low interest rates, all of the different things we saw in the real estate market during that time, I mean, we were getting buyers that were making above asking price offers on properties sight unseen from other areas. It was just a crazy, wild time.
Right.
And, you know, as we came out of that and we saw the economy begin to change and the real estate market begin to change, you know, everybody was saying, oh, are we entering a crash? What's happening? So really, we see that our real estate market has really just leveled out. We're going back to what we've seen prior to Hurricane Michael. So yeah, we were at a really unprecedented high at one point, and now what we see is we're just leveling out. And so it's still, in a sense, a seller's market because they're still getting the asking price of their homes for the most part. They're still holding that home value. Now we do see that days on market has increased significantly. You know, buyers aren't as eager to jump when your interest rates are 8%. And on the same sense too, our new listings are not as high because some of those sellers aren't as prone to go out and sell their home if they know that the home that they want to buy after that is going to be much
they're going to pay a lot more than what they're due.
Yes.
All right, that clears up a lot of questions right there. Let's get into now. I've got orders. I'm in the military, I have orders, and I'm coming to either the Navy base or the Coast Guard, out here to Tyndall or up to Eglin, places like that. My main concern as a military person is when I get orders, I want to get my family moved, I want to get a place to live, I want to find a place for schooling for them, I want to find a place convenient to work, and I want to find the price that I can afford. There's three different aspects I want to look at here, and I know they all have advantages or disadvantages. First of all, you can go to a realtor, which is great, which I would recommend personally. But you can also drive up and down the street in some of these neighborhoods and see this nice, beautiful looking sign that says, for lease, by owner, or for rent, by owner. You gotta be careful with some of these things, don't you?
Yes, you do. Generally, renting versus buying, you're going to have a better, of course, I'm going to say you have a better advantage to purchase as a realtor, because basically the service member is going to decide what is best for them if they want to rent versus to buy. And the best option would be to buy. You're looking at discounts on your, as I mentioned, your taxes. You have that you can deduct those when you go to sell your home.
Right.
You're going to get what is called, what do you call it?
You'll think of it in a minute, but my question would be, and I grew up in a trusting family, and you're military, I'm military, that you shake hands and you have a deal, and you can trust one another. But my problem is when I see some of these signs up, I don't know if I can trust these people. I mean, there may be hidden things there that they're not disclosing to you, but if you're selling your home and you go through a realtor, you know what the problems are. There has to be inspections, but some of these homeowners that are leasing or renting, they don't care, Kaydee. They just want that dollar to come in, and if you can't pay it, they'll give you a foreclosure notice or an eviction notice and say get out. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, correct. And and that really, I think, comes down to just personal discernment. I hope that people in the military coming here with orders are understanding of, this is a new community for them. They need to be reaching out to our chambers and the locals to get advice on the areas that they're interested in buying in, just to understand those areas, and trusting a professional to help lead them
Right.
and guide them to buying a home. And yes, sometimes it is challenging with the prices of homes and the availability of different funding types and things that they face, but in the long run, as Athrine mentioned, purchasing a home is much more advantageous
Right.
of any one of us in general. But especially when it comes to being completely new to an area, as you mentioned, who do you trust?
Right.
How are you sure that you can trust that residence that you are going to put your family in?
Right.
And many of those lease signs or rental signs are from reputable realtors, companies already.
Right.
And many of those homes through those companies have been inspected and checked out for, and a lot of them have protection or incentives for
Right.
a veteran renter as well.
We're gonna run out of time here, but I still got to get these in here. All right, I found the house I want. My family's happy with it. Help. How do I get pre-approved so I can afford this? What do I do as a military person to get pre-approved? New to this area that I have no idea who to go to. I have to trust my realtor.
Yes, and one of the first things that your realtor will do for you is get you connected to a local lender. That would be the first step to start. They are best to decide what your affordability will be, what you will need towards purchasing a home. And that would be the first thing I suggest. You get connected with a local. And I emphasize local. You have a lot of internet
Sure.
lenders, and they have no knowledge
Yeah.
of the local
And they don't
market.
care.
Correct.
Yeah, I see a lot of that stuff too. You need mortgage. Oh, we're the only company that will give you a little bit of money on your mortgage. No, that's not true. All right, Kaydee, do you want to add anything to what she said?
I will just say, in terms of local and the emphasis on local, especially our community, those coming from other places, and being an outsider to our community, it is so important for them to be connected to a local, not only a local expert, but, an expert in all fields. And something I personally love about our community is just how close we all are. And I think it's so great. I hear stories of realtors all the time who say, I had a deal, it was we entered something bad, something happened, but I was able to pick up the phone and I called my lender and they were able to help me through something,
Right.
or I called the other agent and we were able to solve an issue. So that doesn't always happen in larger communities. And I think that's something that's really special about ours. And you know, I sit on the chamber board, and I've seen a ton of our military community executives come through, and they all just rave about what an awesome community we have. And so I know our military is very special here, and I know that they feel that they are special because they are.
And that's one of the things that really hits home to a lot of people when they come into this area. They immediately feel welcome. And that's what's so good, because this community, I mean, what do we have, 25, 30,000 retired military people here? And then you got all those that are coming in Tyndall. You got Eglin, that's 60 miles away. So we're kind of one big happy family, and you can feel that trust develop, and that's why it's so important that you trust one another.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
All right. I'm pre-approved for my loan. How long does it take me to move in? Because I got a family here that's going to be in town in 10 days. I signed the paperwork today. My wife and I signed it. Can I bring my family in 10 days?
Typical move-in time, depending on the purchaser and how far in the lending process they have gotten, you're looking at anywhere from 30 to 45 days to move in. And then again, keep in mind, you have surveys, you know, for instance, survey depending on the weather.
Sure.
Yes, and depending that you haven't run into any hiccups along the way. But typically, 45 days would be the longest, 30 days being the shortest.
All right. I'm happy here. I'm living here. I have my loan. I went to a realtor. Everything's taken care of. I've been here 2 years, and I have a VA loan. And all of a sudden, I go to work in the morning, and they call me in and say, Sarge, you got 30 days. You're moving. How do I get out of my VA loan? I remember years ago when I bought my first VA financed home in Tucson, I was told if they default on that loan, you are still susceptible to paying for that. How do I get out of this quickly and not get penalized?
As an active duty service member, you are protected from foreclosure on your home because you have orders to go elsewhere. So those orders cover you until you find the next home. And then your eligibility remains with you and goes with you when you find that next home or when you sell that home.
And Kaydee, the realtor, they will help you in the process too. They'll contact other people if you want them to, right?
Absolutely, and that realtor can hopefully remain in your life for as long as you want them to. Realtors are really great about forming relationships and staying in touch with people. So it's not just at the closing table that your relationship ends with your realtor. They're always on your phone. They're always available to answer questions.
We got 2 minutes to go. 45 seconds. Closing remarks, Kaydee.
Well, first of all, just thank you again for having us, and thank you for your service. I didn't mention that in the beginning. It's such an honor and a pleasure. As I mentioned, our military community is so very important to us, and especially with the rebuild of Tyndall. I just can't wait for the future and to see what all is going to transpire in our community that's even bigger and better than it already is.
Athrine, you got a smile on your face.
I just also wanted to thank you for your service and giving us this opportunity to speak to our veterans and give them some tips and ideas on where to go and what to look out for.
And if people ever have any questions, CPAR, you represent realtors all across this great area of ours, and you don't play favorites, you'll listen to what they have to say. Kaydee, Athrine, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate it. And unfortunately, we are out of time. We could talk here for another hour and a half, but these two got things to do today too, and so do I. But again, this is something that you don't need to be afraid of when you're coming into this area as a military person, or if you're selling your home as a military person. Find a qualified realtor, and CPAR is one of the places to start because they have many people they can talk to. Make this a pleasurable experience and listen to what other people around you are saying. Remember, this community, we love our military, and we're going to take care of you the best we can. And if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. My dad always told me, son, the worst question in the world is one that is never asked. A great day today, great information. Thank you so much for joining us on our military community. I'm Jerry Tabatt. We'll see you again next time. Have a great day, everyone.